Hello and welcome to the Mindspo podcast. My name is Rochelle Fox. I am your host and I am so excited to bring you today's interview with fellow Penguin published author, the one and only Radhika Das, who has just released his brand new beautiful book, Mantra Meditation. Now, look, before we actually dive into this episode, I need to share with you some background information of how this whole entire conversation even came to be. Because I really do feel like the universe was doing its work to help me find Radhika's work, which I then believe is instrumentally designed to help you find his work as well. So look, 2025 for me is truly the year of elevating the Mindspo podcast. My intention is to bring you the most inspiring and transformational guests that can help you grow on your own spiritual journey, and guests that can help you tap into your own magic. And while I've been here in London launching my own book, Magnetic, I thought it was time to pull some strings with my publishers and get other authors on this podcast that I could share with you. Now, that email led to them sharing with me Radhika's beautiful book, Mantra Meditation, and ever since I received this book, I just couldn't put it down. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about Radhika if you are new to his world like I was. He is what you call a kirtan teacher, which means he leads these incredible gatherings where hundreds, sometimes even thousands of people come together and chant mantras. And while I've been teaching and practicing meditation for well over a decade now, this particular practice of kirtan felt like discovering a whole entire new spiritual path, a spiritual path to connection and deep joy, a path that I'm super excited to start exploring myself, and one that I can't wait to share with you. What I loved most about this conversation with Radhika is just how down to earth and truly present he is. He has this amazing way of making ancient wisdom feel so relatable to our modern lives. And just like his book, this conversation is packed with insights that are going to help you on your own spiritual path. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. Welcome to the Mindspo podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
I have just introduced you off camera, but for everyone that is listening right now, how would you introduce yourself?
Someone that's trying to help people find their innermost joy. Someone that's trying to figure out what is spirituality to them as well. And someone who is deeply moved by the practice of mantra meditation.
Amazing. I have just started reading your book and it came to me in a very divine way. Our publishers sent it to me, and the word that I have so far is just nourishing. I feel like it's filling me up, but not just filling me up, just nourishing me. I feel really full reading it. And
I'm grateful.
It's really divine, I find, when a book comes to you at a certain point in your life. And I often feel when things come to me, they come because I'm doing this and it's meant to be shared with more people. So I'd love you to talk a little bit about this book. Why did you write it? What was the drive?
I mean, it's really weird because a year before Penguin reached out to me, I started writing. And people were like, what are you writing for? Have you got a book deal? I said, no, I feel like I want to find a different medium in which I can explain the practice which moves me so much. And what moves me about it is the fact that I feel deeply connected to Source, to the Supreme. Can I say the G word on this podcast?
Oh, you can drop God. We can drop any word on this podcast.
So, that concept of God that I feel most intimately connected with happens through mantra and through meditation. And so I felt that the time will come. I felt that something was coming. You just get a certain intuition internally. And so when the email did come through, I was like, I'm kind of ready for this. It's already been happening in the background. And so the why was, I feel that there needs to be as many mediums as possible for translating a message. Whether it's video, whether it's podcasts, whether it's music, whether it's concerts, whether it's books. There's this quote by Martin Luther King that kind of moves me every time I say it. He said, "Those who love peace must learn to organize themselves as effectively as those who love war." And those who love war, they find all sorts of ways and mediums in which they can share their message. And I think as peace lovers, we also need to do the same. So that's the why, I guess.
I've been watching a few of your videos. One of the sayings we have here at Mindspo is that we're all about helping connect people to self, source, and other.
Self, source, and other. Okay.
And when I watch your videos, I was like, oh, these people are connected to themselves. Oh, these people are connected to each other. And oh, they are connected to source. It is like your videos online, when I just go and watch them, they're electric.
Wow.
You can feel that energy in them. I would love to just hear a little bit about your journey of performing and what you do now. Like, where did this all start? Because I read somewhere that it started with a breakup, which then kind of led to a breakthrough, which has now kind of led somewhere else.
Let me tell you something that's not in the book, so that way it's something fresh.
Yeah, everyone needs to read the book, by the way, because like I said, it's a good one.
Yeah, 2010, I had this breakthrough moment that happened through a breakup, but it wasn't your average just breakup. I was on a retreat and I get a text message. My missus at the time was telling me it's over, and I had a breakthrough moment where I decided to step outside of my comfort zone and enter into a mantra moment, I can only call it that. But something that's not in the book, which I feel is also a pivotal moment for me, was when I came back from university, and I'd been inspired by mantra meditation. But when I came back from university and I found that I was living this grayed out lifestyle where I was going on the train, 9 to 5, working corporate finance, working in property. And then I decided that I could either go through my whole life doing this and being quote unquote comfortable, or I could try and do something that is completely off the grain and off the beaten path. And in so doing, I felt like I found something. The only way I can put it is this, that for people who have a dream, for people that have a desire to try and serve and help others and find a life that's deeply connecting to, how did you say, to source?
To self, source,
Self and others. To self, source, and others. I think we have to do something that's somewhat living a life less ordinary. I think sometimes it's required to step outside of the comfort zone, extend your circle of concern to others, and in so doing, you'll find that your connection deepens to self, source, and others.
Yeah, I love that.
So for me, it was coming back from university, finding that life was grey, and then just taking the plunge, having faith that if I decided to live a life less ordinary. And I remember walking out of that corporate office having just basically quit, and I felt completely lost, but at the same time completely free. And I think the pursuit of freedom, it drives us to our authentic selves.
Yeah. What is freedom for you these days?
Wow. Freedom to me is making decisions based on my spiritual aspirations and not making decisions on my fears. You know, when we're fearful, we're scared, like, oh, how's the rent going to get paid? How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to sort out my kids' nappies? And when you act out of fear, that's a certain style of decision making. But I think real freedom is when you make decisions based on your spiritual aspirations, your desire to connect with something deeper. That's freedom for me.
Spiritual aspirations. I've never heard someone say that. Tell me a little bit about what is like a spiritual aspiration for you.
I would say a spiritual aspiration for me is to realize I'm something more than this body, something more than this mind, that I'm something divine. And in so doing, I see others like that. This might sound weird, but I don't really get so starstruck by people because I see beyond the body, beyond the roles, beyond the... I tried to anyway, to see beyond that and see who is this person really. They're a child of divinity, they're a child of grace. And so when we see each other like that, it means that whether it's an Uber driver who dropped me off here, whether it's Rochelle Fox, that I'm absolutely blown away by all the things that you're doing and everything that you're doing to serve, whether it's an A-lister celebrity in Hollywood, whether I'm chanting with people who are in the corporate world, wherever it is, I just try to see them for them, for the spirit soul that lies within the body, as opposed to the body and the mind that they're currently in.
I love that. So you talk a lot about chanting, and I want to pretend no one knows anything about what it is that you do, the practice. Could you just describe what it is that you bring to people and what that essence is and where that's from? Because I feel like so many people will have maybe heard about chanting before and heard about this style, but don't really know much about it.
Yeah, chanting is a practice that if you look through the ages, it's in every single tradition. Like they all do some sort of songs or hymns or praises or They do some sort of music that connects them to something spiritual. And chanting, the idea behind it is creating impressions upon your consciousness, upon your awareness, through the repetition of sound. We don't realize it, but we're repeating sound vibrations all the time. We're repeating impressions all the time. Every time you scroll on social media, the algorithm's pumping back what they think that you need to hear.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly creating impressions upon our awareness, upon our consciousness. But chanting, by singing and chanting audibly, by associating with sound vibration that's transcendental, it allows us to enter into a new consciousness, a loving consciousness, a kind consciousness, a connected, joyful, loving consciousness, I would say. That's what chanting does. It's if I were to ask all of your viewers, and please don't do this because it might be weird, but if you all sat there and started chanting, I don't know, Donald Trump, Donald Trump,
Not gonna make you feel...
Trump, Donald, Donald, then okay, fine, jokes aside, we will start to think about that person. We'll start to think about the character of that person, and if you do it for long enough, you might start to imbibe what that person stands for. It's like people at a football match, glory, glory, Man United. I'm a Man United supporter.
Okay.
But if they're chanting all of these chants for their football team, they get immersed and absorbed in that consciousness. And so in the same way, if we're chanting sound vibration, which is meant to uplift us, to connect us to self, source, and other, then I think that will happen by the power of association, the power of remaining with that sound vibration.
And it's called, what you practice is, I'm going to get the pronunciation right, kirtan.
Oh, very good.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, you got it right.
I've been working on getting my pronunciation
Yeah,
right
that's
on terms that I use.
Yeah.
How important do you feel like pronunciation is in this day and age?
It's important and it's not important. It's like, if I was to ask you to tell me, what do you call your partner other than their name? You have a nickname, don't you
Yes.
say it out loud?
Yeah.
But they'll know that you're calling them whether you call them by their actual name or they're not, their non-actual name. And I think that the inner orientation is just as important as the outer expression. So yes, trying to get it right, let's not culturally appropriate, let's try and be proper as best we can, make an effort. It's like, if I was to understand your name and say it imperfectly, I'd want to say it nicely because I want to try and connect with you in a way that you feel, yeah, this person respects me and this person appreciates me. But if I got your name completely wrong, then maybe that wouldn't be the case. But if you felt that I was doing it in a loving way and I wasn't doing it to harm you, if I said your name incorrectly and I said it still with some love, you'd still feel that love. And so I think it's a two-way thing. It's not so black and white that, oh, you pronounce it wrong, therefore you don't know what we're doing.
I really love and actually respect that you say that, because if I'm honest, more your world of, because we're in the same world, but in different like kind of veins of it in some ways. I think in the past I have dyslexia and there has been like trouble for me sometimes saying certain words in a perfect way. I even get English words wrong and say them wrong. So I think it's a nice thing for people to hear that the intention behind something is more important, and I believe that so much.
Yeah.
And I think, so when you hold these events, you have all these people come together and it's electric. What made you want to start that?
It was at university. I remember coming off this massive, how do I call it, moment of awakening and going to university and feeling like I didn't want to do what everyone else was doing. I went to the student union night and I was standing in the club with a watered down alcoholic beverage in my hand, and I looked at my girlfriend and I said, I just want to get out of here. So I went back to the apartment and I'm sitting there on the bed. I remember just being very sickened and disappointed with where my life was going. She said, what's going on? I said, I don't want to do this anymore. She said, you're breaking up with me. I said, no. I just don't want to do the go out, get drunk, get into a fight maybe, potentially, wake up the next morning with a headache and do it all over again. She said, okay, so what do you want to do? I said, I'd like to share spiritual stuff with people. And she's kind of like looked at me like I'm some weirdo. And she said, okay, let's do that. So the next day we went to the library and we printed out these flyers that were about this size, really small, and they had the words, what would you do if you had 24 hours to live? And the next day we handed out these flyers out in the cold, and I remember just thinking, no one's going to want to come to this event. So the next day I sheepishly put out 3 chairs because I thought that's all that's going to turn up, and 75 people showed up that first session.
Wow.
And the week after 150. And I did that for 3 years. And week on week, people would come and hear me speak. But at the end of those sessions, I'd always do some chanting, always do some sort of meditation, always do some sort of mantra practice. And people were getting more interested in that than they were in what I was speaking. And it made me realize that people are very much attracted by sound. And yes, the spoken word is very powerful too. But for me, I felt that I could connect with people through music. And so when I came back to London, it was from university, I decided that that was what I was going to do. I was going to share mantra as my main practice and weave it in with some of the philosophy that I feel would really help people.
What would be your favorite mantra if you were to pick one right now, or one that's been serving you lately?
Okay, one that's been serving me lately. I mean, the first mantra that I ever connected with was the Hare Krishna mantra.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
This is really, you're going to find this, maybe you'll find this strange, maybe you'll find this divine. So after reading your book last night, I got up to the mantras and I flicked through and I saw the Hare Krishna mantra. I didn't read that section. I woke up at, I think it was like 1:32 around about. I'm singing Hare Krishna.
Really?
And it's been years since, so in Australia we have these Hare Krishna restaurants at Govinda's.
Yeah.
Everyone in Australia knows Govinda's has the best vegetarian food out there. And they're the happiest people. You go in there and you're like, I don't know what this store is, but there's just some good vibes going in here. Good food, good vibes, happy people. That was the last time I heard the Hare Krishna mantra.
Whoa.
I'm singing it in so the fact that you're saying
I didn't do anything. It wasn't me.
But it's just interesting because I woke up and I told my partner this morning, I was like, I was singing Hare Krishna. He goes, what are you talking about? And we had this big conversation about it. He's like, and then I found your video where you had everyone singing it. But yeah, so that's so interesting that you say that.
That's incredible.
I wasn't sure I was going to mention that on the podcast because I was like, that was a really interesting dream.
Yeah.
What was it? I don't dream like singing ever.
Yeah.
No, ever. No,
crazy.
but I never sing in my dreams.
That's
and
insane.
I was singing Hare Krishna in my dreams.
That's so cool.
And sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's a mantra. I mean, the first mantra that I ever connected was the Hare Krishna mantra, and that's probably my favorite, hands down. But one that finally I was thinking about recently was, there's a mantra in the book, I think it's chapter 7, if I'm not wrong, about finding lost things and ultimately finding yourself. And there was this moment I had when I was in the temple with my spiritual teacher. And when you enter into a temple, generally the culture is you take your shoes off before you go in. So I took my shoes off, I went in, I had an incredible time there. And then as I'm leaving with my teacher, then we're standing in the shoe room and I can't find them. And I felt really embarrassed because he's kind of looking at me like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm just trying to find my shoes. He said, try this mantra. He said, Om Hanumate Namaha. So I'm like, all right. So he's like, I'll stand outside because it'll be weird for you if I'm standing here. So he steps out and as soon as I chant, I find the shoes. So now whenever I lose something, if it's my keys or my wallet or one of the kids, then it's always Om Hanumate. I'd lost something the other day, so I was chanting and I found it. See, here's the thing, whether it's actually the mantra or it's something that's happening deeper on a neurological level that helps you just calm down to connect with what you're trying to find, it works. So it works for me. Om Hanumate Namaha. Chapter 7.
Chapter 7.
Yeah.
Love that. Something that I read a little bit about in your book that you mentioned is the word devotion. Devotion's been huge for me in my life and in my practice. I say that I don't have discipline to meditate, but I have devotion. I didn't have discipline to write my book, but I had so much devotion.
That's incredible.
I would love you to talk about your relationship with devotion and what devotion means to you.
Yeah, discipline is uncomfortable. I think that if I were to tell someone to go to the gym every single day this week, they'd probably listen to me because I've got a nice beard line and a nice smile. But if I told them to do it for the rest of the year, they probably wouldn't do it. They'd probably say, well, who is Radhika? People are generally quite selfish. And I'm gonna contextualize that. We don't change for other people. We change for ourselves. If we feel that a particular diet, a particular hairdresser, a particular spiritual practice is actually making a difference in our lives, we're going to do it devotionally. We will do it religiously. And I think we have to try and find the taste. What is it that you will do when no one else is watching? What is it that you will do to nourish yourself when it doesn't need to be validated.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I feel that on like a deep level.
Yeah. So when you found that, then you can do it without someone telling you. For example, for writing the book, right? You've got this incredible book, Magnetic. Plug. Get one. For you to write this, there must have been some discipline involved because you had to sit down and do it every day. But there was an element of taste there that you knew that this is going to be something that's going to serve the world. You knew this is going to help to grow your platform. You knew that this is going to be something that's going to help many, many people. And so you did it devotionally. I think devotion has to start from the starting point of taste. What is it that you truly feel connected to? And then when you find that, then it's easy to be devotional. It's easy to add feeling to that, easy to add, how to say, an inner orientation towards it. It's not that, oh man, I have to do this. Because you look at it, the things that you really, really have to do, generally they won't last a lifetime. You might be able to do them for a year or 5 years or 10 years because you're disciplined in one way or another. But the things that you will ultimately gravitate towards in your life, they require taste, they require devotion. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I love that.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's so interesting because the whole act of writing a book, I just kept thinking about my reader. I think the minute I got in my head about myself was the minute that it just was not working. But the minute I just sat and I was like, okay, think about the reader or think about my younger self. Who am I writing this for? And I had to take myself out of it so much because it's interesting writing a book. Writing a book is such a marathon, not a sprint.
Oh yeah.
And it's such an interesting process, and it's something that really it makes you go so deep in yourself in such an intimate way. How does it feel now that your book's coming out, by the way?
Now that it's out, I feel a sense of relief.
Yeah.
But also it's so nourishing to hear that people are finding it useful.
Yeah.
I think that every writer wants to, I don't know about every writer, but for me as a writer, I felt called that if my audience did connect with what I was saying, then what was the point of the exercise? And so to feel that it's being received by others, to feel that it's being connected to by others, that's like the biggest joy. Do you feel that too?
Yeah, massively. I think getting people to say something, like when I open my Instagram and someone's like, I'm reading this page of your book, it made me feel this. I just go, oh, wow. Like that's what you got from my words. And maybe it wasn't necessarily the message that I originally wrote it with, but it's then what they've picked up, which I find so interesting.
Yeah.
It makes sense now. I think in the past I've listened to singers and songwriters talk about when I put my music out, I don't want to say what it's about because I just want people to get what it means to them. And I don't think I ever truly understood that. With a book, I now really understand that everyone's going to find it where they're at and they're going to read it from their own level of consciousness.
Definitely.
And that's divine.
Yeah.
And where they're at is exactly where it's meant to find them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a real sign to me that deep down in all of our hearts, we all want to love and we all want to be loved. To be loved is, everyone gets it, like, yeah, I want people to love me. But when we do such things and exercises and things like books and writing and sharing and serving and loving, etc., we realize, oh crap, I actually do want to love others too in some way, shape or form. Because I can imagine, for me anyway, when I was writing, every page I used to think, am I transmitting this message in a loving way? Am I transmitting this message in an accessible and relevant and serving way? Isn't it?
Yeah.
So it shows that we want to love others, even though we feel like, no, like I just have my circle of concern and I just love the people that are closest to me. I think deep down we also do want to express our love to the world, no matter what the race, even if they're completely different to us. We want to show love to others.
I have a question. So as a writer myself, when I was writing my book, I definitely had like a core message that I wanted people to receive. Did you write your book with like a core message that you'd like people to receive, or an energy or a certain intention?
Yeah, I wanted to help people to find their inner joy. I wanted to help people find calm, and I wanted people to find connection. Joy, calm, and connection.
Love that.
Because I think that that's the needs, interests, and concerns of the people at large. People are chasing for joy. People are chasing and searching in Bali and all over the world. I mean, any holiday location, they're looking for calm. And deeply, I think when you strip everything away, they're looking for a sense of connectedness. Either with source, either with self, with others. I'm loving these 3 words that they're now stuck in my head.
Self-source and others.
It's such a good way of summarizing it. So yeah, I think calm, connection, and joy were three things I was looking for to help people find.
Yeah, I love that. I'd love to know, on a day-to-day routine, what does a morning look like for you?
It is not what you'd expect of a spiritualist. I wake up and I play with the kids
Yeah.
for an hour.
I think that is the biggest spiritual practice, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Waking up
I'm not like waking up and meditating by myself. And I used to do that when I didn't have a family and I wasn't married. But now life looks totally different. I just don't give myself the excuse. Like, I don't give myself the excuse to brush my teeth in the morning. And so I just don't give myself also the excuse not to meditate every day. So I find time, even if it's not in the morning. But ideally for example, when I go to India in November or in January, and I take a group with me, but before the group arrives, I spend a few days on my own. And then I can get back into that routine of waking up early and meditating. But right now, play with the kids, feed the kids, get them off to school. Then I've got a room in my house, which is a dedicated temple space.
Oh, beautiful.
So I go in there and I'll sit and I'll read for a while and I'll chant for a while. Anywhere up to 2 hours in there. So that'll take me up to about 11 o'clock. And then I hit the office and then I spend the whole day trying to serve the world through my computer or through events and podcasts and retreats and all sorts. And then in the evening, I just watch a little bit of Netflix and go to sleep. So that's my day.
I love that.
Yeah.
When you think about chanting and you think about chanting by yourself and then chanting with other people, do you have a very different experience within yourself, whether it's a solo practice or a practice with others?
See, I'm a big believer, Rochelle, that whatever we speak, for every 1 hour I'm in front of a microphone, maybe 2 hours away from it.
Oh, that is, in
my
this
practice.
day and age, medicine that people need to hear.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think sometimes we often jump into trying giving a message, but then not living the message. And so for me, it's a big thing. Say what you like about my lifestyle and who I am as a person. But the one thing that I hold religiously dear to myself is that I don't want to be inauthentic with what I speak and what I write in comparison to the way I actually live it. For example, today I was reading about, what did I read about today this morning before I left home? The transmigration of the soul. That this body is likened to being like clothes. And when the clothes get worn out, the soul transmigrates to its next destination. And why was this important for me? Because it helped me to remember in that moment that life is temporary. That this body will change. I've got this like vegan mayonnaise patch. It's on this side, right? I think it's there.
I like it.
Yeah. Everyone's saying diet. I'm like, no.
What? Did someone tell you to diet? I love it.
Yeah, I kind of like...
I'm sorry,
it
this
reminds
is
me
like a
getting
bit of salt and pepper.
Yeah, it's like I'm getting a bit old now.
Yeah, no.
So it reminded me that this body will also pass and I'm going to have to deal with that.
When you think about the body and the soul, what is a soul to you? I asked this question to another author, Rebecca Campbell, and it's such a... God, if someone asked me this question on a podcast, I'd be like, all right, did I have my coffee this morning?
Yeah.
But what is a soul to you? So we have our human body, and what is a soul to you?
Yeah, so it's described in the Vedic literature that we have the gross body, which is this, the blood, bones, etc. And
The meat
flesh,
puppet.
the meat, yeah. Yeah, the puppet.
The meat puppet.
Then we have underneath that what's known as a subtle body. So subtle body is your mind, your intelligence, your ego. So the subtle part, you can't see it, but it's there. And the deepest level is the soul part. And the soul is described as being 1/10,000th the tip of a hair. So it's a tiny little thing, but it's described as being the essence of you. And there are three qualities that are mentioned of the soul. One is that it's eternal. So it will always be there. You've always existed. Maybe not in this incarnation, but you've always existed. That you are full of truth and inner knowing. So that's the second quality. And the final is that you're blissful. That you are happy by nature. I was once on a train and I was listening to some kirtan, some mantra meditation in my ear, and I was smiling in the train, and the guy opposite me, he said, "What's your problem, mate?" I was like, "Nothing, I'm just happy." Like, nothing. But I think we're so averse to seeing others happy and averse to feeling it's okay to be happy. We almost default to, I'm miserable all the time. How are you doing? Just going through it. But to be happy is our nature. To be joyful and blissful is our nature. And so the soul for me is Satchid Ananda, full of truth, full of inner knowing, eternal and blissful. That is the soul. Those are the qualities of the soul.
I love that.
And the soul's purpose is to reconnect intimately with Source. And so we all have a worldly duty, we all have jobs and duties and things that are on our to-do list, but then we also have our soul's to-do list, and the soul's to-do list has to be answered. If not when we're young, then when we're old. And if not when we're old, then in the next destination, in the next body. So the soul...
Soul's to-do list.
Yeah.
Bars. 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 Bars, my friend. That is, wow, I love that.
Yeah.
The soul's to-do list.
Yeah. And the soul also has a playlist too.
Ah!
And that's mantra.
So good. Oh.
The soul's to-do list and playlist.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That really hit me on like a deep soul level.
Yeah.
Wow.
You've got to find that. I think we all got to find it now. It's what we're doing on this earth. It's what we're doing in this body. We have to find our way of navigating this world, and how do we navigate money, and what's our diet, and what's our friends, and what's our family relationships look like, and what's my health look like. We have to do all of those things. But then who are you when all the things that aren't you are peeled away? So when your family starts departing, when your friends change, when your job starts changing, you peel away these layers. Who's that you? And what's that you's to-do list? What is the purpose of you? There's the soul that's in this body. And so that's the work that I'm trying to do internally. I think that's the search for the soul. That's the soul searching that's required.
Do you feel like we all have a destiny as souls?
I think that, see, again, I can only speak from what I understand of my tradition.
Of course.
I think that my current realization of it is yes and no. It's like this. I'm a believer in karma and reincarnation and destiny, but also free will. Why? Because I think that in order to love, we need free will. And the Vedas, the ancient Indian scriptures, they talk about this, that you can't destine love. Even though most people say it's my destiny, my soul partner, but you can't destine, you have to have chosen to love. The only way you can really prove this is, are you married?
I'm engaged, but we've been together for 14 years.
Okay, so you know exactly what I'm about to
married.
say. Exactly. You have to wake up and choose to love that person.
Can I say something? Yeah. The thing that I always say about my partner soul is I choose him. I choose him every single day, continually. Everyone always asks me, what's the secret to your 14-year relationship? 2 answers. 1, meditation. 2, we choose each other. I constantly am in choice with him. And it's like I wake up and it's like, I choose you. I love you, I choose you.
The same with God.
Yeah.
It's like everyone has to find their own version of that G word, whether you call it the universe, the supreme, the energy, or whatever. For me, Krishna, whatever name you choose, the name is interchangeable. We're still talking about the same subject matter here.
Yeah.
So when we talk about destiny, the ultimate destiny of reconnecting with source, reconnecting with self, I think that has to be a choice. But it's like this. I would say that imagine like you have 3 doors in front of you. You choose which door that you go through. So you choose to love, you choose to not love, and you choose to hate. Neutral, loving, or hating. You can choose. Now, based on that free will choice, there is going to be a destiny of another 4 doors or 5 doors that come behind it. And again, you have to choose. So there's a minute choice that's described in the Vedic literature, a minute amount of choice, but there is still choice. And so sometimes we can say that, oh no, it's all destiny, it's all meant to happen. No, there are also still some small choices, a choice to love.
What would you say to someone that right now is listening to you, but maybe is living a very different life and kind of is feeling called to spirituality, called to explore this sort of world, but feels like they're stuck in another world and they're trying to find that, they're trying to walk through that door, but they're currently in a room that is in a very different room?
Yeah, I would say if you're feeling attracted to this conversation, lean into it. Find time in your life to go on holiday. And what I mean by that is go on holy days.
Oh, I love that.
Find moments for spiritual connection. Like, what I mean is not that you have to go on a yoga retreat. You can do if that's what you're calling. But find time for your soul connection and lean into it a little bit more. And if you're feeling like this isn't the right time, then that's fine. You're probably not going to be still watching this if this isn't the right time. I'd be surprised if you're still here. It means that you're leaning into this conversation. You're leaning into the connection. You're leaning into the possibility that your life is meant for living less ordinary. You're leaning into the opportunity that a spiritual connection will fulfill you, will fill your heart with joy. So I think that back to what I said before about you have to find your taste. So if you're feeling like, yeah, I'm tasting something here and I'm feeling called towards it, then you naturally will make the doors open. You'll make the choice to go through the door. And if it's not the right time for you, I wouldn't say my work here is done. I would say be patient. Be patient and try to open your eyes and ears to that which the signs of divinity are kind of like popping into your life at all moments. I think that we're in a conversation with divinity always, with the spiritual, whatever you call that. We just have to learn how to listen.
Speaking of listening, a question I get a lot is how do you tap into your intuition? And I'd love to ask you if you have any wise words on that, because it seems to be a huge question these days. And I understand it on a soul level from so much of our audience, because I personally feel so many people don't have silence in their life. They don't create space to be able to listen. We are just taking in everything, but we're listening to something else all the time rather than listening to ourselves. So what would your advice be?
Make decisions based on your spiritual aspirations and not your fears. I think our intuition, and I understand the intuition as being this inner, the soul speaking.
Yeah, like an inner knowing.
An inner knowing. When something starts to rise within your awareness, when it's clear to you, I need to choose this and not this. But if I choose this path that my intuition is speaking, then what if? That's the fear speaking. That's the inner, your mind. It's not your intuition. It's your mind saying, what if? If this goes wrong, then people will laugh at you. If you go to a kirtan session, a mantra session, your intuition is calling you towards it. But if they take a picture of me there, they're going to think I'm a wacko. But don't worry try and put the fear to the back, because they're not even thinking about you anyway, and choose a spiritual aspiration. I heard this funny quote: when we're in our teens and 20s, we care so much what people think of us. We care so much what people think of us.
Yeah.
In our 30s, it's still there. I'm 30 plus now, and so I'm still very conscious of what people think of us, but less so. As you hit 30 to 50, I asked my dad and my mum, and they said that they felt that as they got older, they care less about what people think about them. Then it's said that when you get even older, you realize that no one was thinking about you anyway.
So true.
No one was thinking about you anyway. And so we get so caught up in the fear of what will people think that I think sometimes we just have to listen and choose to be bold and walk the path of our spiritual aspirations. What do you do? How do you walk towards your intuition?
For me, it's just a quietening of the mind. It's sitting with myself. It's getting away from all the algorithms, all the noise, all the input. It's really just about me being alone in nature, or just in a space where I'm not consuming, rather I'm creating, and I'm creating with thought, or I'm creating with my hands, or I'm moving. I think movement helps me so much, just like moving to music or dancing. It's so funny. I feel like my intuition, sometimes it feels like my mind, but like a higher mind, and it's kind of like a download, right? So for me, it's about getting in my body and allowing my body to be the vessel to receive it. Because I feel like if I definitely feel the most out of tune with my intuition when I'm sitting for long hours. I'm not moving my body. I'm living, but I'm not alive. And when I'm living, but I'm not alive, then I just feel I'm cut off from everything.
Wow. Then what do you do to then make it, so say, you go into a peaceful moment, or you go into a euphoric dance, and then you feel like there's something that calls you towards something. What do you do to then move towards that decision? Like, how do you commit to that intuition as opposed to run away from it? Say, no, I don't want to do that right now.
It's interesting. I have this thing that I like to do, which is like zero-based thinking, which is knowing what I know now. Like, if I could take everything away and I could just act from like a place of neutrality, what would I do?
Wow.
And that really helps me, because if I try and just take everything away and I'm like, well, I just got this download, get out of the concerns of everything. If I just acted on this download, what would happen if I was letting everything else slide?
Wow.
That helps me.
You're almost like seeing the future of what, if I do this, just working towards the promise of what that will bring.
Yeah, in my book, it's so funny you say what if. So I used to be a huge, oh, what if it goes wrong? What if it doesn't work out? I had a very bad spiraling monkey mind, like really dealt with that. I had PTSD, and that's how I got into all of this. I found meditation saved my life, and that was like over a decade ago now. And in my book, I rechanged everything to use what if as a positive way, because for me it's like, what if it all works out? What if everything is divine? What if I've been guided by a higher power? Because I used to have such a negative, because everyone, what if is this kind of these two words in the English language that are a cliff jump. They feel like what if, and then everything's gonna fall to shit.
But what if?
What if? So that was a redesigning for me, and I like to take things to ground zero a lot, because I feel when I get out of all of my earthly reasons why they can't be, and I instead just go into everything is possible and I'm the one limiting myself. There's this beautiful quote, I think it was by Hafter Eckhart, and he said, if 100-foot oak had a mind of a human, it would only grow to be 10 foot tall. And I always remind myself of that, in the sense of, I think we limit ourselves so much, and I always just try and get myself out of that human monkey mind, the limitations.
We're meant for so much more than the consumerist culture points us in the direction of. We're meant for so much more. This human form of life is actually incredible. Like, yes, we might say that dolphins have a better brain than humans and whatnot, but I think in terms of the ability to tap into consciousness and to tap into something otherworldly and beyond the material, this human form of life is, as the colloquial English would say, is pretty sick. Like, it's incredible.
It is.
We could do something with this opportunity, and it's such a shame. It breaks my heart seeing people so absorbed and consumed in just trying and get a flat screen TV and a house by the sea and a 1,000,000 gigabyte MP3, and like we're yearning for all these things.
You're about to drop a rap there.
Yeah, I know.
I was ready.
But we're yearning for all these things, and then only to realize when we're older, oh crap, I think I missed something here. I missed an opportunity. Do with it what you will.
I have a few little questions that I want to ask before we depart. Gosh, there's so many that I have for you. I'm going to try and just think of my favorite one that is coming through. One was about loneliness, actually.
Okay.
I would say we are in a loneliness epidemic. And the thing I love about what I see from you on YouTube, everyone needs to, I'm going to have your links down below so everyone can just go and, I listen to a lot of music when I get ready in the morning, do my makeup, do my little eyeliner. This morning I was Hare Krishning to my eyeliner. It wasn't very good because there was a bit of too much movement going into the body. Because I was really getting into it. I was, oh, it's starting to move me.
I love that.
But your events are the cure for a loneliness epidemic in my mind. They are medicine. And I would love you just to talk about how you feel we can navigate loneliness. Of course, coming to an event like yours, but yeah, it's just, for me, I was looking at your events and I'm like, wow, I think that everyone that feels that they don't have friends or they don't feel lonely, the spaces that you create, they just look like spaces that anyone could walk in and you're seen as a soul. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing. You can see how pure that is, because I do believe one thing that people are intimidated by in spirituality is, am I spiritual enough? And whenever people get into this, I'm always like, okay, spirituality doesn't have a look, firstly. And I think that that's such a challenge that we have in the modern day culture, where people feel like spirituality has a certain look, or it has a certain cloak or a smell. You got to do your hair a certain kind of way. I'm like, spirituality has no look. It's not a costume that you wear. And the events that you have, I think, are such, they look so non-judgmental and beautiful. So yeah, tell me a little bit about the spaces that you hold. Cause
I mean, you said it so beautifully. It doesn't have a costume.
It doesn't have a costume.
I love that. I think what we suffer from a lot in the modern world is something known as crowded loneliness. It's a term that was coined by my teacher, Sachinandana Swami. He said that we suffer from crowded loneliness. We're surrounded. There's a poem that you might be interested in. It's called Paradoxes of Our Time, that we're more connected than ever, but still feel so alone. And that was one of the verses. You'll love the poem, Paradoxes of Our Time. People are looking for an opportunity to love and be loved. This is a term that Mother Teresa came up with, that the soul desires to love and to be loved. And I think that what kirtan and mantra does is it gives the voice back to the people. I think what we're looking for is an opportunity to express and say, I love you, world. I love you, dear sister. I love you, dear friend. I love you, dear world. But it just feels so weird to do that. But I think through the medium of a language that's so different. Like kirtan is Sanskrit. Like I wasn't even born and brought up speaking Sanskrit or, these ancient languages. I don't know anything specifically about the terminology, but I didn't study Sanskrit, but I can feel through the chanting so deeply connected. People ask me, in your chanting, do you see God? Have you seen Krishna when you chant Hare Krishna? And the honest answer, Rochelle, is no. I've not seen God. But what I can say without a shadow of a doubt, without even blinking an eye, is that I feel the presence of divinity in my life. And that presence of divinity, it becomes so clear that I can see people for who they are. I can see people beyond the body and beyond the mind. I don't feel... See, how do I know the chanting is working? Because I feel no fear, my lust has gone down, my greed has diminished, and I feel so connected that I feel loving towards others. I'm not the purest of the pure, no, I still make mistakes. But the fact is that this chanting, it cures our deepest loneliness, our deepest longing, the longing that wants to shout out, I love you. It's weird to tell someone that you only met for the first time that I love you. But through the chanting, you can even just look at each other in the eye and just feel the love in the room. You can feel that there's something elevating your consciousness, elevating your mind, elevating your soul. And so that's that experience that I think people are feeling when chanting. And it's weird because no one knows each other. I oftentimes, in the middle of the chanting, I say, look left and right and just see. Yes, it's awkward, but we want to acknowledge one another. I was once with my friend, Jay Shetty, name drop. He told me something really interesting. He got into a cab and he immediately went on his phone and the cab driver wasn't moving. And so Jay went to him and said, is there any problem? Is why we're not moving? And he said, you didn't say hello to me. You didn't ask me, are you okay? And so he said, I'm so sorry, are you okay? How are you? People long for it. And very rarely do we say out loud that I'm longing for someone, and not just the people in my life. I want the world to tell me that they love me. And I want to tell the world that I love them. I want to tell God that I love him. Or them, whatever concept it is for you. I think that's what chanting does. It gives people their voice back. A voice that wants to tell people, I love you.
This conversation, just like your book, nourishing. I haven't had breakfast this morning, but I feel like I just did. It's so funny, just that last point that you made. I just want to say that hit me on such a deep level, because I think for me as a person that...
It hit me on a deep level when I was speaking it.
Yeah, that's definitely my intention with life, and I walk around a lot saying hi to people and being a very big bubbly Australian personality. For the past 30 days I've been in London, and as an Australian I'm saying hi to everyone.
Good day, mate.
This is what we do. We walk down the street and we say hi, and I have to rein in my Australian, I feel a little bit in London, because
You're very friendly people. When I went to Australia, you're very, very friendly.
We are, and I do feel that sometimes what I have been trying to say to people in my life is, hi, I love you. And I see that in your events. I see that in your videos. You can feel that. You can feel that when you speak. And that is a message that I feel so many people struggle to celebrate in a world that sometimes feels so heavy. And you create spaces that allow people to sing and dance and connect back with, like I say, self-source and other. And that is a powerful, beautiful thing that I think we all need more of. And your book, Mantra Meditation, like I said, it's really beautiful. I'm so excited for our audience to go and find it, to go read it. It's also a beautiful book that you can just kind of flip open and see what mantra serves you on that day.
Yeah,
and you have so many beautiful stories with all of them. And yeah, I'm so grateful for this conversation.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too.
And I
feel like we're going to get to know each other a lot more. I feel like we're friends from another lifetime or something.
I just want to know, I want the event schedule. I'm traveling a lot this year, so I'm gonna have a look and see where I can come, because I want to just lose it on the dance 100%. Floor to Hare Krishna and not be doing my eyeliner.
All right.
I really recommend everyone do Hare Krishna while doing their makeup, because it was a vibe.
I mean, there's a bunch of different chants on there, so just check out the YouTube and just click on any random one and see which one vibes for you. There's some calm ones if you're feeling a bit, mellow, and maybe you're in a place in your life that you don't feel so joyous and ecstatic, and that's okay too. So feel it out, whatever works for you. I'm here to serve you.
Amazing. Well, tell everyone where they can find you, your links. Obviously, your book is out now, Amazon, Waterstones.
Yeah, you can just go www.themantrabook.com.
Beautiful.
So it's all on the Mantra Book, themantrabook.com.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to reading yours.
I appreciate that. Magnetic. Amazing. Well, I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
You too.
Thank you for joining me for this episode. You can discover more from Mindspo on Instagram and TikTok by following @Mindspo and myself @Rochelle_Fox. If this episode inspired you, then please pass it on and share the love. And lastly, always remember, you create your own reality. So go and make some magic.